let's go to the men's tournament. And I've talked about, and I think you've agreed with me, but how I've been more excited about the women's tournament than the men's tournament. Now, it didn't really play out that way initially, because first rounds in the women's aren't as many upsets and, all of that. But at this point, Rob, it is. I'm more excited about these two games tonight than I've been about any of the two games, or a couple games in the men's tournament. And the interesting thing for the women, Rob, is that pretty much every major storyline that was huge going into the tournament is still alive. LSU is an intriguing team as the defending champions. Iowa, obviously, with Caitlin Clark. USC with the great rookie or freshman Juju Watkins.
Yep.
Connecticut with Paige Beckers. South Carolina, just a fantastic team. Like, Rob, all of those storylines are still alive. You rarely would get that many in the men's tournament that's still alive. And so props to the women. It's going to be interesting to see what the ratings are on this, but they're going to be huge, I'm sure. But, Rob, there are some interesting and really compelling things going on in the men's tournament. First of all, you've got UConn, the number one seed overall, and, Rob, they are just running through folks. They've now won, including last year when they won the championship, Rob. They have now won 10 straight games in the tournament.
Incredible.
By double figures. That's just unbelievable.
Has that ever been done before?
Yeah, Ryan, if you want to check that out, but I believe there are 4 or 3 other teams that have similar streaks. And so see if you can look that up, Ryan. But yeah, they're rolling.
Okay. So this is not unprecedented, right?
No, I don't believe so. But then there is also, Rob, I mean, we mentioned NC State with their Cinderella run as the 11th seed, but also, Rob, Zach Edey. All right. Now he's the 7'4" center from Purdue. 7'4". All right. He's the Naismith Player of the Year, the Wooden Award Player of the Year, consensus All-American. Rob, this is no overstatement. He is putting up numbers that we haven't seen in 50-plus years. And here are a couple of them. Through the first 2 rounds of the tournament, when he had 53 points and 35 rebounds on 68% shooting in the first 2 games. No one had done that, basically 50, 35 on 65% shooting, since Lou Alcindor, obviously Kareem Abdul-Jabbar now, but Lou Alcindor in 1968, Rob. Also, his last game, when they won victory over Tennessee, he had 40 points and 16 rebounds, Rob, on 62% shooting. The only 2 other players to go 40-15 on 60% or better were Bill Bradley,
who we had on the show. Didn't we have him on?
Yep, we had him on the show. And Elvin Hayes also in 1968. So think about this. So Zach Edey is putting up astronomical numbers. And what I want to ask you, Rob, is this. Why do you think, and then UConn as well, you got UConn, NC State as Cinderella, and Zach Edey putting up these historic numbers. Why do you think these stories haven't captivated us like the women have? Or even just independent of the women. Why haven't they captivated us?
I don't know. The Zach Edey is interested. I didn't know his mother was 6'3", Chris. His mom.
How tall is his dad?
He
probably was really tall too.
His mom though, a mother 6'3" is a big woman, right?
Yeah.
And his mother is born to Chinese immigrants. I was just trying to find out like his background. I know he's born in Toronto.
Right.
His dad's 5'8".
His dad is 5'8".
Dad was 5'8".
Shay, is that right?
Yeah, according to this website, it says
that's crazy.
It says he's just being 5'8". He intentionally stayed away from a basketball court.
And Chris,
mom was 6'3", dad was 5'8".
And here's the other thing: like Edey which is with his size is crazy. He played hockey and baseball, which I understand. Hockey growing up in Toronto, Chris, like in Canada, everybody plays hockey. If you grow up there, right? Everybody, like you play Little League baseball.
Right.
But the baseball at that height is kind of weird, right? I understand basketball. He played hockey and baseball as well as basketball. But to answer your question, those are just interesting tidbits. I don't know if the UConn thing is. It's a different team, Chris, right? Like they're missing, right? It's four different players as far as stars, right? They're four different.
The transfer portal and just some guys, moved on to the NBA.
And I don't know it is weird because it's not often that you have a team with a chance to win back-to-back. We talked about Florida being the last one, right, Chris, to win back-to-back.
I think it was 07, 08.
I don't know if Edey doesn't get the juice that he should. Is it because he's not from this country? Is it because we already got the Wemby fever and okay, here's another really tall guy? I don't know. Like
he plays nothing like Wemby though.
No.
He's all in the inside.
Right, but I'm just saying like here's another. I don't want to say what I wanted to say, but another guy, abnormal, overly tall guy. I don't know if people can't latch on to him or relate to him. Where Wemby, I think, Chris, there's more of a chance because Wemby, as you talked about, is a different type of player, can shoot, handle a basketball. Most people can't imagine doing what Edey's doing. Just a big guy at the rim.
I think it's this, and let me know what you think.
Okay, help me because
I think you're grasping. Clearly.
I don't, because I don't know.
Right. I think it's simple, Rob. I think, with all due respect to these players who are great for what they are.
Let me hear. You got something big coming out of your mouth.
I think it's that people know they're not that great. Like,
you mean they know that UConn's not great?
They've tried. No, they know that the best 20-year-olds, the best 21-year-olds are all in the NBA.
Okay.
They know that Zach Edey is not going to be much of a player in the NBA. I don't believe so. And I've seen a few mock drafts now with him low lottery. Some have low first round, some second round. I don't think he's going to be great. Luka Garza was similar. Now, he wasn't 7'4", he was 6'11" at Iowa. But a 24.9 rebound guy, player of the year, all that. Rob, he got drafted in the second round and is riding the bench from Minnesota. And I think, and here's why I compare it to. Rob, for years now, the last 5, 6 years, 7 years, they've been trying, and we're trying again with the XFL, trying to get spring football off the ground, right? But it hasn't worked yet. And I think one of the challenges they have, because I think the games are compelling, they're great, very good players. It's interesting. Are they better than Division I college? Because all of them played at that level. They just didn't make it to the NFL. But they're good, whether they're better than D1 or not. They're very good players. It's comparable to D1. But we want to watch the NFL. And when our minds tell us you're not the NFL and you're not going to the NFL, we're not interested. Now, we're interested in college football because those guys, we know they're the next group that's going to the NFL. And then when college basketball had the next group that was going to the NBA, we were all into it. Now I think, and I'm just throwing this out there as a theory. Subconsciously we know, they're okay.
But in the moment of watching college basketball and what it is, it's still because of the tournament. We've talked about it before, Chris. College basketball to me has always been about the format anyway, mostly. I get it that years ago, but this is not a new phenomenon, what you're talking about. This has been going on for a long time. I mean, this has been guys have been coming out of college basketball for years. This isn't, I think, the first year that we have players. Guys, if you stayed in the NBA and in college for 3 or 4 years, automatically thought they weren't that good. But this has been going on for a minute now.
Well, I think, like, let's look
Right?
let's look at the women. Caitlin Clark, we know she is, for college-aged players, there's nothing better than her and Juju and Paige Beckers and Angel Reese. They're the best. The men playing in college, they aren't the best at that age. And again, I just think people look at Zach Edey and they're thinking, man, he's not going to be doing much in the NBA. And then the young freshmen who are NBA talents, we don't know them as well. We don't know the names as much. They're only there for 1 year and things like that. So I think that whether subconsciously or consciously, Rob, I just think we know it's subpar basketball. It's not what we were used to seeing. Rob, with all due respect to UConn, which is having a phenomenal run, they would get bombed by the champions 20 years ago. They would get bombed by the Fab Five. And I know the Fab Five, Rob, they were freshmen and then sophomores. They would bomb these dudes.
So going forward, you consider, then you must think that this is where it's going to head, and it continues to head that way. Like is there, you know what I mean? Like, is there not going to be somebody, Chris? And here's the only pushback I'll have with you.
If there's a freshman that comes
there
in,
you go.
that we all know is going to the NBA,
Okay.
he's a big time lottery pick.
That was my
and
next
he's dominant.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that can happen, right? Because they have to go to college for 1 year, or they don't have to. They can go to
But they
overtime
could,
and lead or
right?
something. But yeah,
right. Okay.
they can.
So that would change the dynamics of college if you watching. And I'm not saying when we watched. I remember Carmelo Anthony's tournament run.
Oh,
like
it was fantastic.
Fantastic. Like that was his rookie, right? His freshman year. Jim Boeheim wouldn't have a championship, Chris, without him. I mean, he was fantastic.
No, he wouldn't. He
Think
really
about
wouldn't.
that. Coaching 50 some odd years without a title.
Yep, he definitely would not. But yeah, I mean, a group of freshmen, like if Cal gets another group of strong freshmen and they defy the odds and beat some of these older teams, sure. If a freshman by himself kind of leads, a group of teammates deep into the tournament, to the Final Four, the championship, sure. But barring something like that, notice though, Rob, those are guys we're describing that will be in the NBA and be high draft picks. So it's just a theory, but let's see what the listeners think.